You know what happens to pretty little things that don't know their place around here? The gravelly voice cuts through the cigarette smoke and dim lighting of Quinn's tavern like a blade through silk. Dakota Morrison's steel-gray eyes scan the nearly empty bar, lingering on the woman behind the counter who hasn't even looked up from the glass she's polishing. They learn real quick, or they disappear. The crystal tumbler in Serena Vance's hands catches the amber light from the overhead fixtures, refracting tiny rainbows across her knuckles. Her movements remain steady, methodical, but something shifts in the pressure of her grip. The glass edge presses against her palm with enough force to leave temporary indentations in her skin. Outside, 5 Harley-Davidson engines grow louder, their synchronized growling like mechanical predators announcing their arrival to the quiet. Friday evening crowd. Quinn's Tavern sits on the edge of Millbrook, a place where conversations happen in whispers and strangers either become regulars or never return. The weathered wooden floors creak with decades of stories, and the vintage beer signs flicker with the inconsistent rhythm of old neon. Tonight, only 3 customers occupy the worn leather bar stools, nursing their drinks and minding their own business until the sound of approaching motorcycles makes them exchange nervous glances. Serena sets down the polished glass with deliberate care, her fingers lingering on the rim for just a moment longer than necessary. To any casual observer, she appears completely ordinary, average height, understated beauty, wearing a simple black t-shirt and jeans that suggest nothing more threatening than someone trying to make an honest living. But there are details that don't quite fit the picture of a small-town bartender. The way her eyes sweep the room every 30 seconds, cataloging exits and potential threats. How she positions herself with clear sight lines to both the front door and the back office. The small surgical scar, barely visible on her neck, where her hair has shifted slightly. The motorcycle engines cut off simultaneously outside, leaving an ominous silence that seems to press against the windows. Serena's hand instinctively moves toward her collarbone, touching something beneath her shirt. Dog tags rest against her skin, warm from body heat and worn smooth from years of unconscious contact. The metal carries engravings that tell a story she spent the last 2 years trying to forget. Sergeant Serena Vance, combat medic, Afghanistan deployment. Sleep doesn't come easily these days. When it does, it brings memories of desert sand and helicopter rotors, of voices calling for help that she couldn't provide fast enough. 3 months ago, she jolted awake from another nightmare, sweat-soaked sheets clinging to her trembling body as phantom screams echoed in her ears. That morning, she made a decision. No more running from city to city. No more temporary jobs. Quinn's Tavern represented something she hadn't had since returning from overseas. Stability. The front door swings open with enough force to rattle the frame, and 5 figures fill the entrance like a storm front moving inland. Dakota Morrison leads the procession, his presence commanding immediate attention. Tattoos snake up both arms, telling stories of violence and rebellion in intricate black ink. Behind him, his crew arranges themselves with practiced intimidation. Each man represents a different flavor of menace, from the wiry speed of youth to the calculated brutality of experience. Evening. Folks, Dakota announces to the room, though his attention remains fixed on Serena. His voice carries the artificial friendliness of someone accustomed to getting its way through implied threat rather than open confrontation. Hope everyone's having a peaceful night. 3 existing customers develop sudden interest in the bottoms of their drinks. One slides a 20 across the bar toward Serena and heads for the exit without making eye contact with the newcomers. The remaining 2 shift uncomfortably on their stools, caught between the desire to leave and the fear of drawing attention to themselves through movement. Serena straightens behind the bar, professional mask sliding into place with practiced ease. "Welcome to Quinn's. What can I get you, gentlemen?" Her voice carries the neutral politeness of customer service, but her stance betrays subtle preparation. Weight balanced on the balls of her feet, hands positioned for quick movement. Shoulders squared but not aggressive, Dakota approaches the bar with deliberate slowness, each step designed to build tension. His boots, heavy with steel toes and road dust, create rhythmic impacts against the wooden floor. "5 whiskeys," he says, settling onto a bar stool that groans under his weight. "The good stuff. not the watered-down swill you probably serve the tourists. The implication hangs in the air like smoke. This isn't just an order for drinks, it's a test of compliance. A way of establishing dominance in a space that doesn't belong to him. Serena reaches for the top. Shelf bourbon without hesitation. Her movements efficient and professional. As she pours, Dakota studies her with the intensity of a predator evaluating prey. "You're new," he observes, though it sounds more like an accusation than a conversation starter. Old Quinn never hired pretty faces. Said they were too much trouble. His laugh carries no humor. Only sharp edges that seem to cut through the ambient noise of the jukebox playing softly in the corner. Serena slides the first glass across the polished bar surface, the amber liquid catching the light. "Quinn's been good to me," she replies, maintaining eye contact just long enough to show she's not intimidated, but not so long as to appear challenging. It's a delicate balance. One she's learned through necessity rather than choice. The other 4 bikers spread out around the bar area, not quite surrounding her, but creating an unmistakable sense of enclosure. Each man carries himself with the swagger of someone accustomed to intimidation tactics working in his favor. Their leather jackets bear the insignia of the Blackwater Riders, a local motorcycle club with a reputation that extends far beyond recreational riding. Dakota sips his whiskey, but doesn't drink immediately. Instead, he rotates the glass slowly, watching the liquid swirl as if reading fortune in its movement. Quinn understood how business works in this town, he continues, his tone conversational, but loaded with implication. Smart man knew when to show proper respect to the people who keep places like this running smooth. The temperature in the room seems to drop several degrees despite the warmth of the evening. Serena pours the remaining drinks, hyper-aware of every movement, every position change from the men around her. Military training whispers warnings in the back of her mind. Evaluate threats, identify escape routes, assess available weapons. The mental checklist runs automatically. Muscle memory from a time when situational awareness meant the difference between life and death. "I'm sure Quinn was a wise businessman," Serena responds carefully, setting the last glass on the bar. "Anything else I can get you?" Dakota's smile reveals teeth that have seen their share of violence. "Oh, I think there might be plenty you can do for us." He gestures around the nearly empty establishment, his meaning unmistakable. "See, Quinn's Tavern operates under certain arrangements. Protection agreements that ensure everyone stays safe and happy." The word protection hangs in the air like a loaded weapon. Serena's fingers unconsciously touch her dog tags through the fabric of her shirt. A gesture so subtle that most people would miss it entirely. But Dakota notices everything, filing away each micro-expression and nervous habit for future use. "Protection from what?" Serena asks, though she already knows the answer. Small towns across America harbor their own versions of Dakota Morrison. Men who figured out how to extract tribute from legitimate businesses through carefully orchestrated intimidation. The question seems to amuse Dakota. He takes his first sip of whiskey, savoring both the alcohol and the moment. "Well, now that depends entirely on how cooperative people choose to be. Quinn paid us $200 a month, and in return, nobody bothered his establishment. No broken windows, no fights that got out of hand, no accidents that might hurt business." Around the bar, his crew nods in agreement, their body language radiating menace despite their outwardly relaxed postures. They've performed this routine countless times, refining their approach until it achieves maximum. It's a psychological impact with minimum legal exposure. Serena processes this information with the analytical mind of someone trained to assess tactical situations. 5 armed men, familiar with the territory, operating with apparent immunity from local law enforcement. The smart play would be compliance, at least temporarily, while she figures out how to extract herself from the situation. But something in Dakota's tone, in the casual way he assumes ownership over her choices, triggers a different response entirely. "That's quite a business model," she says, her voice level despite the tension coiling in her chest like a spring under pressure. "What exactly do these protection services include?" Dakota's expression shifts slightly, recognizing something in her tone that doesn't quite match the submissive response he's accustomed to receiving. Most people, when faced with the prospect of extortion, react with fear or anger. Serena's clinical curiosity represents something outside his normal experience, and uncertainty makes him more dangerous rather than less. Whatever needs protecting: property, inventory, personal safety. Amazing how many accidents can happen to people who don't understand how things work. The two remaining customers abandon their drinks and head for the exit. Their departure leaves Serena alone with 5 men who've made their intentions clear. Dakota's laugh carries harsh amusement. "Sweetheart, you're looking at the new management. Quinn sold this place last week to a holding company that contracts all their security through us. That makes you our employee now." Revelation hits like cold water. This isn't random harassment, it's a calculated takeover. Serena's hand moves unconsciously toward her necklace again. A Polaroid photograph slips from her wallet as she reaches for a towel, fluttering to the floor. The image shows 5 people in desert camouflage, faces young and confident. 3 of those faces belong to people who never made it home. Dakota notices and leans forward. "What's that you got there, soldier girl?" Playing dress up. The casual dismissal triggers something deeper than anger. "Just old friends," she says, though her voice has developed an edge. "Military friends," he observes with predatory satisfaction. "That explains a few things. But here's the thing about soldiers, especially female soldiers, they're trained to follow orders. And right now, your orders are coming from me." Around the bar, his crew shifts position, creating a more obvious pattern of enclosure. Dakota drains his whiskey. "Here's how this works. You pay us $400 a month, double what Quinn used to contribute. Consider it hazard pay for dealing with management changes." "$400 seems steep," Serena observes. "What exactly are these additional responsibilities?" Dakota gestures around the bar with proprietary confidence. "We'll be keeping a much closer eye on operations here. Inventory management, customer relations, personnel oversight." "Personnel oversight," she repeats. "What does that involve exactly?" "Making sure staff members understand their positions in the local hierarchy. Some people need extra guidance to help them find their proper place." One of the bikers, a lean man with prison tattoos, approaches and leans across the bar, violating her personal space deliberately. "Boss is being real patient with you. Most people figure out the score a lot faster." Serena maintains her position despite every instinct screaming at her to create distance. Dakota rises from his stool. "Maybe you didn't hear me clearly. This isn't a negotiation. This is me explaining how things work so you don't make any unfortunate mistakes." Dakota notices her gesture toward the necklace again. "Those your dead soldier boys under there? Must be tough carrying around reminders of all the people you couldn't save." The words hit with surgical precision. Images flash through her consciousness. Helicopter rotors, radio voices calling for help, her hands covered in blood. "You don't know anything about them," Serena says, her voice dropping to a register that carries warning. "I know they're dead, and you're alive," he continues with calculated brutality. "I know you're standing here serving drinks instead of playing soldier." Serena's breathing changes, becoming deeper and more controlled as her body begins. Accessing stress responses that served her well in combat zones, Dakota leans across the bar. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to accept our terms, show proper gratitude for our protection, and learn to appreciate the stability we provide. Or you're going to discover just how unstable life can become." The decision crystallizes in Serena's mind with clarity. "I understand your business model," she says, her posture shifting, "but I'm not interested in your protection services." Dakota's expression hardens. "You might want to reconsider that position." "Sweetheart," he signals, and his crew begins moving with practiced coordination, cutting off her retreat. "I think there might be some misunderstanding here," she continues. "This is a legitimate business serving a peaceful community." Dakota laughs without humor. "You know what keeps communities peaceful? People who understand their place in the natural order." The biker who circled behind the bar reaches for her shoulder. "Boss is trying to be reasonable with you. Maybe you need some help understanding." The physical contact triggers an immediate response that Serena barely contains. "Please don't touch me," she says firmly. Dakota moves around the bar himself, abandoning pretense. The previous arrangement was $200 monthly. But given management transition, we're implementing a new rate structure. 400 seems reasonable. I think you should leave now, Serena says. This is private property, and you're making me uncomfortable. Dakota reaches across the bar to grab an expensive whiskey bottle without permission. Sweetheart, uncomfortable is just the beginning. The lean man moves closer, forcing her backward. Nowhere to run back here? Might as well relax and listen. Past and present begin to blur as stress responses activate. Her breathing becomes shallow, heart rate accelerating. Dakota notices her distress. Something wrong with you? You look a little pale there, soldier girl. Maybe thinking about some bad memories? What happened over there? Lose some friends? The questions slice through her defenses. Please, she says, barely above a whisper. Just leave me alone. Dakota moves closer. Too late for that now. Time for you to learn some respect. His fingers grip the dog tag chain. Pressing the metal against her skin, the physical violation triggers something deeper. Training takes over. Serena's hand moves with mechanical precision, grabbing Dakota's wrist and applying leverage that forces him to release his grip. Dakota stumbles backward, surprised, but his crew responds immediately. The lean man lunges forward. Muscle memory guides her response. Step left, redirect momentum, create distance. But there are too many of them. The third biker grabs her left arm. Serena responds with textbook defensive technique, but escape remains impossible. Dakota recovers and approaches with deliberate menace. Pulling something from his jacket that glints in the light, the appearance of a weapon fundamentally alters the tactical calculus. What happens next unfolds with terrible efficiency. Serena moves with purpose, applying defensive techniques with precision. The first attacker finds himself on the floor with a dislocated shoulder. The second experiences temporary paralysis. The third staggers backward with tears streaming. Dakota himself receives special attention, his weapon-wielding hand immobilized. The entire sequence lasts less than 90 seconds. Sirens grow audible. Sheriff Ray Hawkins bursts through the door with his weapon drawn. Everyone on the ground, hands visible, he commands, focusing primarily on the bikers. Sergeant Vance, he says, addressing Serena with formality. Are you injured? The use of her military rank reveals a connection. No injuries, sir, she responds automatically. Multiple attackers. Defensive response only. Hawkins holsters his weapon. Video surveillance confirms self-defense. Clear case of assault and battery on the part of the suspects. But victory comes with costs. The encounter has shattered the peaceful anonymity Serena spent 2 years building. Hawkins approaches carefully. Serena, you did everything right. Clean defensive action, proportional response, clear legal justification. As paramedics arrive, Hawkins guides Serena toward his patrol car. I know this isn't what you wanted. The quiet life, the fresh start. But sometimes the world doesn't let us escape who we were. Serena nods, understanding that her time as an anonymous bartender has ended permanently. What happens now? She asks. Hawkins pulls a business card from his pocket bearing federal agency logos. There's a position available. Veteran Advocacy Program, helping design safe spaces for trauma survivors. The work might give you purpose beyond hiding from the past. Around them, Dakota and his crew face transportation to county lockup. Quinn's Tavern will operate free from extortion for the first time in years, yet Serena feels no satisfaction. The path forward remains uncertain, filled with therapy sessions and difficult conversations. But for the first time in 2 years, she feels hope that her military experience might serve purposes beyond personal protection. Standing beneath flickering streetlights, where her anonymity died but her purpose might be reborn. Serena finally understands that healing is not about escaping the past, but about choosing how to carry it forward.